What first date behavior is a deal breaker? They won't stop talking about their ex. Immediately starting with the "I love you" attitude. Showing up late and not texting ahead of time. You're not playing it cool if you're 20 minutes late without saying anything. Possessive behavior. If this is how you act with someone you've just met, how would a relationship with you be? Edit. Wow, thanks for the awards. I didn't realize how many people could relate to this. Stay excellent Redditors. I think when they don't even ask you about yourself. Maybe that sounds weird. But I had a date that would be constantly talking about her life and friends and whatnot. I would ask her questions too, but she never once asked me about anything. Once, I was talking to this girl online, and things were going pretty well, so we decided to go for dinner. I showed up to the place 5 minutes early. So I waited, and kept waiting. Texted her 15 minutes after we were scheduled to meet, but didn't get a response. Waited for another 45 minutes then left. She messaged me later saying that she wasn't there because she lives in Indonesia. I live in New Jersey. Finding out that the reason why they asked you out is because they wanted to make their ex jealous. To make it worse, she had her friend invite the ex-boyfriend as well. Forgetting to take off your wedding ring. Taking me to a multi-level marketing seminar. Actually happened. Texting their ex. Introducing me to your boyfriend. I didn't know this until recently. Picking wax out of your ears and sprinkling it around. Don't. Just don't. Okay. Ordering your food to go and quietly watching me eat while you wait to leave. Smelly. Greasy hair. And no effort in appearance. If the first date isn't important enough for you to even shower, then how important will the relationship be to you? Showed up late, getting all done up. Told via text, but was in a ratty hoodie. And her clothes smelled musty, super shy, quiet, barely spoke, even when asked innocuous questions. Until the movie started, then she wouldn't shut the frock up, kept staring at me, and asking the dumbest questions like, "How'd you get so tall? Do you like movies?" Starting the date by saying that you've cleared your entire weekend, just in case this date works out and I'm free. No pressure. Making me do all the work. Conversation-wise, I don't mind being the lead driver, but you need to at least pull your own weight. I've been on some dates that felt more like interviews. I would try everything I could to get an actual conversation going, but they ended up as Q&A sessions. When we plan an actual date where we meet up somewhere, and at the last minute they bail, but wait, they're still free. All you have to do is go to their house. Breach. No. So, basically manipulation. If you manipulate me just once, I'm done. A guy where I worked was hitting on a girl on the lunch truck for over a month. She fillily said she would go out with him, so for the first date he took her to a XXX porn show. Apparently she excused herself to go to the bathroom after a few minutes and never came back. I felt so sorry for her. I would have been scared out of my mind to be with someone that off. If he comes to pick you up and pees in your driveway before y'all leave. Too handsy right out the gate. You're still basically a stranger. I need to get to know you first. Once I told a guy he had something in his teeth and he flossed with his long hair. Asking me to suck his dick before even having a real conversation. This actually happened. To this day, I still don't know how to say his name or where is he from. Edit. Wow, didn't expect this. TBH, I don't mind having sex on the first date or even a one-night stand. But I don't think the first 3 sentences should be, "Hi, how you doing, can you suck my dick?" If you have someone that will do that, good for you. But I rather go spend my night with friends. Or even watch Netflix alone. Constantly being on your cell phone. Seriously. Man, that's so uncool. When I ask someone out on a date, especially a first date, I expect that I will pay for the date. If it's a restaurant, I don't make a big deal about me paying, and I don't care if she makes any offer to pay or not. It's okay if I pay, or she pays, or we split. But I'll assume I'm paying and at least sincerely try if she's okay with it. But it is a deal breaker when I think she's assumed I will be paying and orders extra expensive stuff because she thinks it will be free to her. My buddy went on a date, and the woman ordered 2 entrees, so she could take one home for later. Brazen about it. Showing up absolutely hammered and passing out within an hour. Keeping talking about herself and the same subject. All evening. Went on a blind date once and this girl kept talking about a single trip she made 5 months prior and her damn bunny. It's all cute and stuff, but when I tried to say something about my pets or travel experience, it would always go back to her. Also, when I tried to steer the conversation away from anything but those 2 subjects, she'd return after 4 minutes somehow. Big turnoff. Going on a dinner, or lunch, breakfast, etc. Date and ordering nothing because you ate before you came or aren't hungry. It's incredibly awkward to be the person on the other side of that since you showed up hungry and now you're supposed to just eat in front of the other person. Like, that's not weird? If I'm ever single again and this happens again, I'm just going to go home. On my first date with a guy, he proceeded to tell me he'd had sex with 16 women and I could be lucky number 17, and then told me he generously rated me a 6/10. Solid move, dude. Solid move. Edit. OMG, I just remembered he also told me literally while we were still hanging out that he just frocked some other girl earlier that day. Like, wow, is that supposed to be a good thing? This wasn't a first date, as she had told me she just wanted to be friends after that. But we did one friend date after, and this basically killed it. Let's go to Chick-fil-A. Orders something for herself and then asks me if I want anything. Yeah, I'll just have a shake. We get to window and she turns to me. I'm kinda broke and don't have that much on me, can you pay? I would be fine with it if she had just asked me before if I minded buying her something, but to phrase it like she was the one paying and then switching it up on me. I'm just being used. Edit. Why the frock is my most upvoted comment, the one where I look like a beta male. I mean, I am, but still. Well, on one first date I had, the dude told me he used to be in a gang and killed 6 people. Drove us into oncoming traffic, told me that there were 3 loaded guns in the car. This ride lasted at least 45 minutes there and back, and told me he was bipolar and was not taking any medication for it, but the dealbreaker was when he stopped to get coffee at Taco Bell. Apparently some women can have profoundly poor hygiene, and also apparently there are smells that I am unable to power through. I wouldn't even judge a little body odor if it was just that. I mean, she could be nervous or just forgot the deodorant or something if that were the case. But I'm talking a foul miasma that lingered in my car for a couple days, somewhere between horse girl and smash player. She also didn't wear underwear, because of it being too much of a hassle. I went on a date once with a guy who seemed lovely, funny, interesting and charming. We had dinner and ordered a bottle of wine. About 45 minutes in, I went to pour my second small glass of the evening. He picked up my glass, downed it in one and said, "1 glass is enough for a woman. I need you sober for what I'm going to do to you later." There was not a second date. Passing out in their own vomit. Assuming they're going to have sex with me before I've made it clear. McDonald's. Stealing my car. Crossing a simple boundary I placed. Had a first date where a guy held my hand while I was driving and I said, "I'm not really much of a hand holder," and put my hand back on the wheel. He took my hand back and said, "Thank you for your sacrifice." This dance went on for the rest of the date. This guy also lifted his sweatshirt to reveal a t-shirt that had Jesus on it, which said, "I never said that," and asked what I thought of his shirt. Felt like a weird test. Rudeness to anyone. They're supposed to be on their best behavior at this time, so it's a major red flag if they're not trying to be. Showing up to the date late on cocaine, broke, and hoping I'll buy them liquor. Then expecting I'll be cool hanging at her place with her and her boyfriend because he's pretty chill. That is how my last date went. Edit. Holy frock that blew up while I was sleeping. To TL, doctor, my area was under lockdown. So I'd been really lonely. I live by myself. I set up a socially distant coffee date downtown with a girl who seemed much nicer on the web. But IRL she was really sketchy and clearly she had spent the lockdown doing all the drugs. It was a new low for me. 1. One-sided conversation, aka myself driving the conversation constantly and them putting in zero effort or giving one-worded replies. 2. Always on their phone. 3. Reeking of ciggies, drugs. 4. Talking about their ex all the time. 5. Making zero effort to even be interested. 6. Being more than 30 minutes late without notifying me. Telling me she has to be home by 10:00 because she has another date. Yep, it happened. Thanks, Alice. If he's driving really fast on purpose. Once in the restaurant, obviously rude to waiter, and afterwards if he tries anything super sexual. I've had dude pull their dig outs, literally, outside a BJ's. Talking about their junk. You'd be surprised how many seemingly normal men do this. Finding out that your date is on probation for domestic violence against the girl they dated before you. The only Tinder date I have ever been on. Things were fine until I noticed that the tops of her feet were tattooed with portraits of John Wayne Gacy and Charles Manson. Across her toes were the words, "Party dudes." When I asked her what was up with that, she said, "I just think they were really intelligent. Misunderstood guys. Please don't bring your dad with you." Completely different beliefs in politics. I've had multiple guys bring me a Bible and segue into asking me to dinner to teach me about the Lord. They never understood why I wasn't excited. Any comment that suggests they're insecure about themselves, i.e. a criticism of something, that's clearly projection. I bet you got your job by batting your eyelashes. I've been trying to get into X job for ages and it's too hard. Or anything that tries to or succeeds in making me second guess myself, my instincts. I once asked a first date to leave and let me eat in peace because he started lecturing me on not eating a burger if I wanted to look like my skinny like a 12-years-old boy sister. Rudeness. Patronizing behavior. Arrogance. Talking about exes. Like seriously, if you ain't over them then take that somewhere else and away from me. Lacking respect for servers and other working people. Talking about an ex. Or only talking about themselves and not expressing any interest in me. Sometimes I think guys think a date is a time to brag about how smart you are or how great you are. Just be relaxed. When in doubt, ask her about herself. And be a good listener. Hopefully she will do the same. If they spend the whole time looking bored and disinterested, at least pretend you're having fun, or tell me you want to go home. Don't make me sit here uncomfortably for 2 hours and give me one-word answers constantly. Talking about all the conspiracy theories they believe in. No. Chaz. It isn't a commonly held belief that all of the US presidents descended from the same bloodline. Edit for all the people arguing that this was fun trivia. Broski actually believed that all the presidents were in league together to ensure that the presidential bloodline stayed pure. This wasn't a case of spicy conversation, and wasn't the only conspiracy theory, I promise you. For me, it has to be being rude to servers, hostesses. I had to apologize once while a date went to the bathroom. I was mortified and appalled with that behavior. Servers aren't my slaves and they certainly aren't below me. Not a very big deal, but I pay a lot of attention to this one. Most common topic on first dates is hobbies, interests and tastes. Many dates will quickly backpedal and change their mind if I disagree on something. It can be about music, food, a place, etc. If you said that you liked it, then don't change your mind after I say that I don't. Shows insecurity and it comes off as disingenuous. We are allowed to be different. Criticism is a big no for me on a first date. I can take criticism, it's just that first dates should be about getting to know someone, not judging them. I say this because my ex was very critical of everything I would do, whether it be the kind of music I listened to or that I wore a hat most of the time, and she didn't like it. Criticism or judging is a red flag for me. Being petty about the $5 you spent on me even though I didn't ask you to. Skipping past the get to know you conversations and going straight to get in your pants suggestions. I hate that. I am more than my ass. Thank you very much. Dressing like a slob and if they smell like they haven't showered in a week. I've dated tradies who can clean up within an hour after work to arrive on a date, so there's no reason why Mr. Math teacher can't lift a finger on a weekend. Okay, this thread is a lot of stories, so I'll jump in. What she presented online. 20. Single. Looking for relationship. Who I met on the first date. 17. With an out-of-town boyfriend. Looking for someone to buy them alcohol. I bought her a plate of pancakes and took her home to her parents. Showing you a pic he took from a crime scene he had responded to. Firefighter. Not only are you not supposed to take pictures for personal use, it's not exactly something you want to see over appetizers. Not the same guy. But getting arrested after running a red light on the way to the restaurant, with me in the car. Open warrants are a breach. Telling me they really truly care about me. I'm sure guys may think it's sweet and nice, but dude, you don't even know me. We've exchanged a few stories and jokes. Narcissism. Telling me their IQ. Always suspiciously high. I've had a few guys do this and it's never boded well. It's an immediate dealbreaker now. Gru's first date in Despicable Me 2. The woman made suggestions about his accent under the pretense that it was all for his good. Rude and inconsiderate. Correcting people on your first date? Def dealbreaker. Pooping on the street. I picked this girl up I had been talking to for a few weeks that I matched with on Tinder. She was actually great. A lot of nights voice chatting and laughing, so we finally set a date. I pick her up. We go to the restaurant. We get to the restaurant. She tells me she popped LSD before I picked her up. General assault and murder and stuff. Frowned upon. Rudeness. My best friend was out walking around town with a girl. First date. Suddenly, he had to sit. He struggled to make it to the movie theater down the street. As he approached, he was waddling from clenching his cheeks so hard. He stepped up onto the curb from the street and his sphincter relaxed just long enough for a bit of sit to come out. Him, being him, figured that since he just sit his pants, he may as well shit his pants. He went full flow. Straight up filled his pants then and there. He walked into the movie theater bathroom, took his underwear off, threw it out, wiped his ass and surrounding areas the best he could, and left. Date over. No second date. Being rude to a waitress, cab driver, homeless person, their roommate, whoever. Don't be rude. Spending the whole date talking about how they want to bring people to Jesus through demons. Look, past relationship talk is permissible, but don't tell me how large your last boyfriend's cock was on our first date. Thank you. Blatant racism. One guy the first went on a blind date with made disparaging remarks about black teenagers being the scourge of this country. He was a high school English teacher in an inner city school, so I was quite surprised how the Indian people in his apartment building stunk up the place, etc. I pointed out to him that he was on a date with me, an Asian woman, and seemed to have no problem with that, and he said, yeah, but Asian people are a good minority. Also, if a guy asks, so, what kind of Asian are you? When they're on Reddit in the middle of our date creating a new post on AskReddit about first date red flags. Being an hour and a half late and then wondering why I said we should do it next time when they arrive. They couldn't believe it. There was no next time. Lady I was with pointed at an overweight lady crossing the street and said, whoa. Imagine frocking that. EEEEWW. Insta killed any attraction I had to her. Showing up while eating Taco Bell nachos and asking if I want to go to his place. Talking incessantly about themselves. Berating a worker for a mistake at your restaurant per bar date spot. You can frock right off with that attitude. Saying, rape. Casually in conversation more than once. We went on a date to a pizza place that is also a candlepin bowling alley. So we were discussing other games we like playing. I'd mentioned a game and he said, oh, I raped that game. It's so good. I winced at the first one and thought maybe it was just an uneducated word choice, and we kept chatting, only to later bring up chess. I said I thought I was pretty good since I had done a few competitions and he said, oh, no, I'm very good at chess. I rape every game. I've never lost. And at that I went to the bathroom, paid my half of the bill at the bar, and texted him that I left and to lose my number. A date showed up an hour late intoxicated breaching about her lawyer fees over 2 DUI charges and then sit herself at the bar. Overtly flirting with others. Such a display of weak character, and the attention span of a truck bumper. Calling your ex and start fighting about visitation rights in a subway. The store. Yeah. I didn't go for a second date after that. We didn't even get to the date because the dude cockblocked himself on Tinder once he found out I was in nursing school by asking me if I was interested in doing that salutity nurse thing. Like WTF do you mean that's so vague and creepy? Looks through comments to make sure I didn't commit one of these cardinal sins. Went out with a guy who was considerably more wealthy than me. Spent the whole date talking about myself and bad-mouthing his ex-wife as well as ex-girlfriends. Also complained about having to pay too much tax and not being able to update his Porsche because it would be viewed as ostentatious by the plebs at work. For me, the worst was when he slagged off his ex-girlfriend. She was a single mother and the reason he broke up with her was because he didn't want to give her hope and viewed being a single parent was like being in a prison sentence. He was so awful I went home and cried. Chewing with mouth open or talking with mouth full. I had a girl order 2 entrees when I told her I was paying. She was small but I figured she might eat it. She takes 3 bites out of 1 entree and then asks for a box. She literally had me buy her 2 take-home meals. I realized I was being used, but acted civil and just left. Date ended in like a half hour. She texted me asking for another date a couple days later. I just ghosted her after that. I make decent money, but the embarrassment of realizing you're being used is a low feeling. I do 50-50 or pay for what you buy on first dates now. I was taught traditionally men pay for dates but frock that. It's 2021 now. Bringing your other date. Constant conversation killers. Basically when you have to force a conversation to survive at all times, it becomes a bad interview. Valentine's Day date with my ex. I went to the bathroom during our dinner and came back to him on his phone on Grindr. Telling me, someone who is not straight, that they're afraid of gay people. Frocking someone else in the bathroom. This is not a theoretical deal breaker. Asking to see my credit score before we continued. Snapping their fingers to get the attention of the wait staff was the most off-putting thing I've seen. My friend was telling me about a first date she went on. They went out to dinner at a local Italian restaurant. Sitting outside on a nice summer night. Before their dinner actually arrived he started casually laying out his coke on the table in lines. Casually asked if she wanted any and went on his snorting way. Sitting at the bar, she says, You know what I really like? Black guys. And then goes on about it for 5 minutes. I am very not a black guy. Being inconsiderate. He said, if we had a daughter she would be really hot. This was absolutely enough for me to not want a second date. Lack of empathy towards others. Just listening to their stories and they talk about how they were rude to this person or say something that gives me the impression they have this strong aggressive behavior towards others. It immediately makes me think, yep, this is how they'll act towards me in the future. When I was young, I found it endearing and cute when women displayed that behavior in the past. Now, I've been burnt too many times by such behavior to recognize it way ahead of time. Foisting their religious beliefs on you within the first 3 minutes. Also, inviting their ex. Being rude to waitstaff. That never bodes well for a relationship. I am the master of having bad luck on first dates. 1. Talking about our future children. 2. Multiple references of the ex. 3. Attempting to follow me home after the date. 4. Hitting on the waitress. All different dudes. All cringe-worthy. All deal-breakers. I had a girl talk about serial killers and cannibalism for the entire date over dinner. I've never been happier for a date to end in my life. I recently went on a date with a woman who thought it was appropriate to go into a bathroom with strangers and do cocaine with them, so there's that. He told me I was using chopsticks wrong. I got the food into my mouth without spilling it, so I guess I was doing something right. He also told me was a total size queen, which is not really what any guy wants to hear. Literally grabbing my tits in a public park and saying, "You have great boobs." Defending your use of performance-enhancing steroids immediately after saying that you went to rehab and lost your last job and fiancé due to prolific iced meth use. Just a single woman reading comments and taking notes. Unsolicited advice, especially about things I have not even described as being a problem for me. On that note, hounding me if I disagree with something they like or trying to persuade me otherwise. I don't have to justify everything I don't like to you, especially if we just met. I can already tell they're not going to respect my boundaries. One time a girl legit forgot about our date. I even texted her an hour earlier about it, and was eating at home. I was young and immature, so I actually waited another hour or more so she could get ready. I'm hungry and annoyed the entire time, and she barely touched her food. Was full obviously. I was about 19 and it was the first date I've ever been on, and honestly it was devastating. I felt so unwanted and bad about myself. Older me realizes I was really putting in a ton of effort on a girl that was more than likely just playing with me. There are some men that tend to try to dominate the conversation and turning it into a lecture instead of a back and forth conversation. Like, do you just like to hear yourself talk? Or will you correct everything I say and play devil's advocate? You invite her over to play Bionicles, but she starts taking her clothes off. I took a woman hiking in the Grand Canyon. We hiked to the river on the Tanner Trail. We were both high on acid. Yes, LSD on a first date. She stood up and took a sit about 3 feet away from where we were sleeping. Then she told me she didn't wipe because if she started touching her asshole she wouldn't be able to stop. We go to a pub and find out that there is a trombone choir performing on the 2nd floor. A trombone choir. And he is not interested in checking it out. I can't be with someone like that. If they show up on fire. Just too many terrible dates have started that way. Went on a Tinder date with a dude who within 5 minutes told me he doesn't like when women bring up feminism unnecessarily. He then proceeded to explain to me all about world politics and dynamics and genuinely looked annoyed when I tried to disagree or push back on what he said. Sigh. I would frock that guy. I noticed. Brushed it off since it was a first date. 2 years later we're broken up, unsurprisingly. Turning up heavily pregnant.